Welcome to today's interview on Brighteon.com. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighteon. And hey guys, show the Texas flag again. We finally have the Texas flag all lit up properly here to pay due respect to the wonderful state of Texas. I am so proud to be a Texan. And Texas, I think, is going to represent the resurgence of economic abundance for our nation. Now, speaking of economic abundance, our guest today is an incredibly knowledgeable and very dear person, very special person. It's Gerald Celente. And I want to say before I bring him on that I deeply admire Gerald's commitment to not only the ideals upon which America was founded, but also Gerald, he's an advocate of the arts and the culture, and he buys historic buildings, and he actively works to preserve the very things that made America what it once was, and that is now being lost. But it's guys like Gerald Celente that I'm proud to call a fellow American. So welcome to the show today, Gerald. It's an honor to have you on.
Thank you, and it's an honor to be on. I appreciate so much what you do and over the years, and so thank you so much. But as for loving Texas, once upon a time, as a Napolitano, born in the Bronx, 1946, right after the war, born to be free. Boy, New York City was my kind of town, but not anymore. This whole state's turned to crap. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart as well. I know what you feel, Gerald, because listening to you talk about what has been lost, what could have been, this could have remained the greatest nation in the world. New York could have remained the economic epicenter of this continent, and it's been thrown away by lunatics.
Perfectly said. You know, they just had April Fool's Day. Guess what? Every day is April Fool's Day. We got a bunch of fools that morons and imbeciles call politicians in government running and ruining our lives. It's just a disgrace. It breaks my heart to see the decline of this country. As I said, I'm so proud to be a Napolitano, born in the Bronx, born to be free. As I say, if I was born in Alta Villa Pina, Vica Quenz, I couldn't be me.
Yeah.
That was the America that I grew up in. And now, you better obey what I tell you. I'm your governor. I'm your little mayor. I'm Warren Wilhelm Jr. Oh, no, I'm changing my name to Bill de Blasio. That was my mother's name. I'll get the Italian-American votes. I'll tell you what to do. Close down your business.
Yep.
Get out of school. Go home.
No,
I'll tell you what to do. I'm your governor. I'm your mayor. I'm your president. You live in America, the democracy that slaughters people all over the world, selling out the BS that we're bringing freedom and liberty to these countries as they steal it from us right in front of our eyes.
Well, you know, in fact, Gerald, I want to get your comments on what New York City Mayor Eric Adams is doing right now. So on one hand, he says that New York City is going to be overrun and destroyed by illegals. And just for the record, you know, you and I are not opposed to legal immigration. We welcome legal immigrants. I'm married to a legal immigrant, by the way. But the illegals are overrunning New York City. And then on the other hand, Mayor Adams there, no relation, by the way, in case anyone was wondering, Mayor Adams there is saying, here, let's hand out tens of millions of dollars to the illegals in these debit cards. What is this?
I said it's April Fool's Day. You have fools in charge. Do you ask an idiot why they're an idiot? Do you ask an arrogant little piece of scum why they're arrogant pieces of scum? Do you ask a murderer why they're murderers? This guy's a little nobody with a bad attitude, a little nothing, just like all of them. Which one do you like the best? One little clown after another. Again, you know, by the way, just a little bit of my background. When I got out of graduate school, I didn't really want to work. And something, and my mother passed away. I had to take care of my younger sisters and my father. So I moved back to Yonkers where the family was living. I said, what am I going to do? So I got involved in political campaigns. I was working on major political campaigns in Westchester County, the richest county in America back in the early 70s. They were grooming me. I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate at 26 years old.
Wow.
This is the cat running the whole organization. When I quit, none of my friends could believe it. My good friend, may rest in peace, Brian Donahue, his wife became lieutenant governor under Pataki. They couldn't believe I was going to quit. I said, I'm not going to take this. I said, I'm watching grown men grovel to suck their way up to the top. You're young guys. You're hanging out in the back of the chamber. You're talking about girls, cars, and sports. And you got this guy, Senator Frank Jones, Senator Thompson. I said, what's the matter? Who's this guy opening the door for these people? What's this garbage? And then my friends would leave me, follow the senator to their seat, and you could blow on these seats and they'd move. And they'd pull out the chair and help them sit down.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Unreal.
they come back. I say, hey, man, what's the matter? Cat can't sit down by himself. He needs some help. No, Gerald, you have that kind of an attitude. You're not going to make it here.
Jeez.
I'm mentioning this because I've been on the other side. Here, this is me at 30 years old. I was the number 2 guy running a major trade association, picking up Ronald Reagan at the Chicago Hilton. He spoke after our trade show. And I put on a brunch for him, 16 of our board of directors, 2 days before he's announcing he's running against Gerald Ford for the nomination in 1976. I've been with presidents, prime ministers, and princes. I've been on the other side. I wouldn't know what I know if I wasn't on the other side.
Right.
It's a freak show. You got gutless little boys and girls running the show. Once upon a time, there was a president by the name of Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, supreme commander of the Allied forces, the same guy that warned us about the military-industrial complex robbing the nation of the genius of scientists, sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. Yeah, that Eisenhower, look up the quote. Any man seeking the office of president is either an egomaniac or crazy.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It's extraordinary what you've seen. And the fact that you can package this wisdom and insight into what you do now, because let's talk about the practical things of how you help people with your journal, Trends Journal. The website is trendsjournal.com, and I know we've got a special announcement to share in a minute, but I just want to acknowledge here that through your Trends Journal, you analyze what's going on in the world and you help digest it into actionable items for people. Talk about the Trends Journal for a minute.
It's the only magazine in the world that gives you in-depth geopolitical, socioeconomic, high-tech science, AI, trends analysis, and trend forecasts. So what we do is we report what is, quote, being reported. Then we give our trends analysis. This is the way we see it. So you know there's no propaganda into it. And then we give you our trend forecast. This is where we see it going. And I'm a political atheist. Quickly, I was again, I told you I was the number 2 guy running a major trade association, and I was living between D.C. and Chicago. The Iranian war starts breaking out. Jimmy Carter came back from Iran on New Year's Eve with the Shah and his wife. This has to do all with trend forecasting and how I became a trend forecaster. And matter of fact, it's in this book, one of my books, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. He comes back and says that the Shah is the island of stability in the Middle East. That's the quote. In the Bronx, we used to say, bullshit has its own sound. And people didn't know about the United States overthrow of Mossadegh, the president of Iran, back in 1953, brought to you by the CIA and the MI6. Matter of fact, it was only reported in the Financial Times in 2017 when they actually finally released the information about how Winston Churchill and Kermit Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt's great-grandson, were in charge. He was with the CIA that overthrew them. Millions of people were taking to the streets. The people forgot that when they brought the Shah in, the Savak, the secret police, made the SS look good. They were slaughtering people. The place was, so when the protests began, I said, oh, this thing is for real. Millions of people are going to be, we're taking to the streets. And all they asked was, America, get out of here. We don't want you here anymore. We're not going to leave. You're not going to tell us to leave. And that's when the whole thing broke apart. Anyway, I said to myself, as everybody's learning to hate Iran, what will be the implications? And I said the gold and oil prices would go up. This is I'm 32 years old, 1978. I made two $5,000 bets playing the futures markets. I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, that's a pretty good chunk of change in the 70s.
Yeah, I turned it into almost $750,000.
Wow.
And that's when I quit my job. And that's when so that's trend forecasting, looking at things the way they are, not the way you want them to be. So now we're going to go back to 1978. Let's go to 2024. Go to your trends journal. Week after week after week after week after week after week after week, we said, oh, one of our top trends for 2023 was Middle East meltdown. And we warned that it was going to explode. And here we are. So we've been warning that Israel is going to ramp up the war, and there's not that they may, that they're going to escalate their attacks against Syria, Lebanon, and Iran. Oh, what happened?
Yep.
Oh, they just slaughtered, several Iranians and about a dozen Syrians?
I think it was 8 Iranians and many top officials. The head of the Hezbollah group, or not the head of Hezbollah, but the head of the IRGC that liaises with Hezbollah.
And what did they do? They blew up a consulate.
Yes.
In Syria.
Which is on the consulate grounds.
And a couple of days before, they killed 52 people in Syria, Israel. And they've been bombing deeper into Lebanon. So now, we kept saying, as this escalates, you're going to see the price of oil Brent crude go up. Brent crude was trading near the $70 a barrel level not too long ago. Now it's near $90 a barrel. When the military escalation increases between Israel and Iran, you're going to see oil prices spike to above $130 a barrel. Goes back to trend forecasting. We also said, as these Iran war and Ukraine war keep heating up, you're going to see gold prices go way up.
And here they are, record highs. Was it 2250 plus?
Oh, it's about 2270, 2280. Yeah, and what's one of your top trends for 2024 that came out on January 3rd? A golden year for gold. It's right there.
I want to ask you, Gerald, about this escalation that Israel just committed by bombing the consulate building on the embassy grounds there in Damascus. Okay, so it's in Syria, but it's Iranian territory because it's the Iranian embassy and the consulate. Even Russia spoke out against this. Basically, this is insane. This violates conventions. This violates the rules of war. What is Israel trying to do with this?
When all else fails, they take you to war. People have, again, tracking trends is the understanding of where we are and how we got here to see where you're going. So let's go back again, how we got here. Let's go back to December 2022. Netanyahu gets elected as prime minister. Not my language from the mainstream media. Again, we report what they're reporting, then we give our trends analysis and trend forecasts. Extreme right-wing government. Week after week, from 2022, end of December, all through 2023, Israel was committing atrocities week after week after week against the Palestinians with this extreme right-wing government. Then Hamas attacks on October 7th, 2023. Also during that time, from January 2023 to October 7th, 2023, Netanyahu tried to push through a Judicial Reform Act, which basically said we're doing away with the courts and the politicians are in charge.
That's right.
Week after week after week. Facts. 39 weeks in a row. Tens of thousands of people were protesting in Israel against what Netanyahu was doing. Not my language, but the language from the president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, when this is going on, the demonstrations, Israel is, quote, in a civil war. Civil war. Hamas attacks, everybody forgot about what I just said. When all else fails, they take you to war. You go back to October 7th, and again, we write the facts as they're being reported. 2 days after this happened, after Hamas attacked, there were articles that came out that both the United States and Egypt had warned Israel that this was going to happen. And more information is coming out to say they knew this was going to happen. They let it happen. When all else fails, they take you to war.
That's right.
So that's, go on, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, I'm sorry to interrupt. You saw this coming. The warning signs were there.
Yeah.
Even many Israelis saw this coming, and they tried to stop the Netanyahu takeover of Israel. I find it interesting that now many Israelis are protesting yet again, now, just recently, against Netanyahu. And many Jews all around the world are strongly protesting Netanyahu's policies because I think, I'd like your take on this, but I think they realize that if Netanyahu is not removed from power, he threatens the very existence of Israel because he is making so many enemies around the world. Some of those enemies have the means to destroy Israel. And if he isn't stopped, then Israel may not survive. Is that an accurate assessment?
To an extent, because when you look at the polls coming out of Israel, yeah, they can't stand Netanyahu, but they support the war.
I see.
And then when you look at the people that will take his place, they support the war as well. But then there's the other element of Jewish people, like Jewish Voice for Peace, like Norman Finkelstein, like Max Blumenthal, that come out with the facts that they are totally opposed to what Israel is doing. So there is that minority that are against it. But the people of Israel, again, it's not going to... by the way, since October 7th, Israel has stolen nearly 7,000 acres of Palestinian land.
Yeah, it never stops.
And they use this baloney. I mentioned this guy, Isaac Herzog. Oh, they could steal the land. You know why? God gave us this land. Which I would say to him, man to man, F you, who are you talking to? What if I don't believe in your God? Could you handle that? And don't give me this crap about God. Oh, I know, it's in the book, chapter 6, section 8. What are you talking about? This is in violation of the Geneva Convention and Article 242 of the United Nations. So they keep stealing the land. They're making a very bad situation worse. Oh, and again, what did we hear out of that Jared Kushner's mouth recently? The president, Trump's son-in-law?
Oh, yeah, the valuable real estate, the beachfront real estate in Gaza, right?
That's right.
It's unbelievable.
Yep, it's very unfortunate, he goes on to say. What's happening? Unfortunate? The genocide in front of everybody's eyes by the definition? Yeah. Unfortunate?
Right.
Oh, and then we could move the people out of there and put them into the desert.
Yeah, well, Netanyahu said something similar. He said, well, they can move. They could just pick up their tents and move. I mean, the arrogance in that.
And you know, when Netanyahu came to America a number of times, he stayed with Kushner's father.
Oh, did he?
His house. And Kushner's father was sent to jail for things that he did. And Trump pardoned him. And Kushner gave him $1 million for his campaign.
Wow.
It's a crime syndicate running the country. So you're asking me before about why people are doing this. You don't ask a murderer why they're murderers. Narcissistic, arrogant freaks why they're narcissistic, arrogant freaks. They are in charge of the world. Take a look. You like the little Katson Macron? I mean, what? Oh, how about Sunak over there?
I want to ask you about Macron here shortly. But let me mention Trends Journal and the fact that you are applying your knowledge here, and also I think your courage to tell the truth, your courage to ask the big questions as you're demonstrating here today. And that's what makes Trends Journal special. And I'm happy to announce today that you're partnering with us. We have a discount code for our listeners who want to subscribe to Trends Journal. Use discount code RANGER, okay? It's very, very simple, like Health Ranger. Just go to trendsjournal.com, subscribe, use the code Ranger, you get 10% off the Trends Journal, and we, as an affiliate, we earn a little something as well, so it helps support us as well as supporting Gerald Celente's work. But there it is, trendsjournal.com. When you subscribe, which is right here, click subscribe and use discount code Ranger, and you'll save 10%. Now, and thank you, Gerald. I'm really honored to be partnering with you because I know the value of what you're putting out there. You have a track record of seeing what's coming through analysis, not prophecy or anything spooky or weird. It's just you're looking at the data, the facts, and your experience in the world. And you can tell people in some pretty detailed strokes of what is about to happen. You've been right again and again and again. So thank you for Trends Journal.
Oh, thank you. And again, it's only costing them about $2.50 a week. And so it's like a lousy cup of coffee a day.
Yeah,
so,
barely.
And
barely
I have to tell you, I've never worked harder in my life. The Trends Journal used to be a quarterly, then it went to a monthly, and now it's a weekly. And it's over 170 pages. And you can listen to it, by the way, and it's in different languages. And you read what you want. You know, it's a magazine. So we're doing everything we can to give people history before it happens, because I've been at this 44 years now. We're in the most dangerous times of our lifetime.
Yes.
And people better do all they can to prepare, prevail, and to prosper, because we're in a situation now that's never existed before. And when you want to talk about it, when you're ready to, on the economic front, and going back to why gold is going to be one of the big ones, we're going to have a banking crisis. It's one of our top trends for 2024 that barely no one is talking about in detail.
I do want to talk about that, and I was just checking gold prices while you were mentioning that. You're right, 2270, almost 74, almost.
Wow.
I mean, unbelievable. You know, gold, for those watching, look, gold is up, I think in 4 years, it's up like 48%. In just 4 months, it's up something like 20%. These are rough numbers. It's not the exact math, but gold is now skyrocketing. You called it, Gerald. You saw it coming, and you know that it's not going to stop here because the dollar is being devalued and of what's happening in the Middle East. So give us your take on where gold may be going.
Gold, first of all, gold would be a lot higher if there wasn't a Bitcoin. And by the way, I gamble in Bitcoin. I started gambling in it at 17,000, and now it's around 65,000. But to me, that's a gamble. But here's why. If Bitcoin didn't exist, gold prices would be double what they are. But again, you have to put it all together, and it's not what you like, what you want, or what you wish for. Argentina, you have an inflation rate of about, 250%. Turkey, about 70%. So the people all around the world are watching the value of their currency declining. So the average person can't buy gold in a lot of countries. So what they're doing is they're buying digital currencies.
Right.
That's driving that up. Now let's go to gold. This is very simple. We're in the run-up to the presidential reality show. The presidential election. And every time ruling parties they do everything they can to boost up the economy. The old line of the Clinton campaign back in 1992, behind the scenes, it's the economy, stupid. That's what the people are interested in the most. They're going to do everything they can to prop up the economy in the run-up to the election to keep the party in power. Why? Who's our Treasury Secretary? As we'd say in Italian, Miss Faccia Brute, Janet Yellen. What was her last job? Oh, she was the Fed head. Wait a minute. You mean the former Fed head is now our Treasury Secretary? Yeah, what's the matter with you? Don't you see who's running the country? Oh, by the way, this is one of the Trends Journal covers back in 2011. Nothing has changed.
Christ, beating the money changers? Is that what that is?
Yes, now it's the Goldman Sachs gang, the Merrill Lynch mob, JP Morgan Chase,
Love it.
Nothing's changed.
That's right.
So they're going to do everything they can. Goes back to gold. The lower interest rates go, the deeper the dollar falls. The death of the dollar has begun. It's only artificially propped up because of high interest rates. As interest rates go down, the dollar goes down, gold prices go up. Because also gold is dollar based. So as the dollar gets cheaper, it's cheaper for other countries to buy more gold. And look at the facts. Boop. China, record year of buying gold. The country. Central banks, record year of buying gold last year, and it's breaking a new record this year. Go back to China. The people in China see the devastation that was committed by 3 years of zero COVID policy that destroyed the economy. So what are they doing? Buying gold. This year already, retail sales of gold have gone up in China 24%. So it's the lower the dollar goes, the higher gold prices go. And again, you're putting it all together. Oh, what's our debt? Around $35 trillion approaching?
Yep.
Oh, it's only increasing $1 trillion every 100 days.
and that's only for now. Soon it'll be $1 trillion every 2 months. That's where it's headed.
Yeah. So gold is it could easily double in prices because again, as the World War III has begun, it's going to, again, as I keep saying, when all else fails, they take you to war. You don't have to believe me. You look at the facts. You go back. This is one of our Trends journals when it used to be a quarterly. And this is 1999. Front page story. .com this. .com overload will short circuit high expectations for huge profits in internet commerce, entertainment, and a wide array of .com services. Following the holiday season, many of today's high-flying internet stocks, the hottest IPOs, and newly emerging IPO wannabes will have begun their deep descent from their overvalued heights. We warned that it would happen by the second quarter of 2000. It did.
And you also called out the subprime mortgage collapse before it happened as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we took out the domain name, the Panic of '08, back in 2007. That's right. So let's go back to this. What happened when the .com bust? Oh, America's going deep into recession. Everybody hates little Georgie Bush, the daddy's boy born on third base and thought he had a home run with a brain smaller than a pea and a thing about this big on him. 9/11 happens. Everybody forgot about the .com bust. That's Everybody forgot about it, and then they had the fake real estate market with the subprime mortgages, and we were just talking about it.
Yep.
Let's go back to World War II. Don't have to believe me. Go to the mainstream media, History Today. Type in, Google up, Franklin Roosevelt seizes Japanese assets. Boop, comes right up. In July of 1941, when did they bomb Pearl Harbor? Oh, in December. Okay. In July of 1931, Franklin Roosevelt seizes... 41, excuse me, thank you. Remember, the Great Depression's going on. Right? The Great Depression. Seizes all Japanese assets in July of 1941 because those dirty Japanese, you know what they did? They invaded French Indochina. Wait a minute. French Indochina? What the hell are the French doing in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia?
Right.
Oh, you mean they're stealing all their tin, rubber, rape, pillage, and robbing everything they can? Why, how dare those dirty Japanese go in there?
And take what the French stole first, yeah.
Yeah. Then the United Kingdom, the sun never sets on the British Empire, those slaughtering people. And the Dutch in Indonesia stealing and robbing and pillaging there. They put sanctions along with the United States on Japan that cut off, this is right in History Today, 3/4 of their trade. And
including energy.
88% of, you nailed it, 88% of their imported oil. They only import 100%. Can't understand why they bombed Pearl Harbor. So
gee.
Yeah. What I'm saying, World War III's begun, Mike. They're going to use a false flag event to get the people to rally around it. Just like they did with 9/11. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden, dead or alive. 88% of the people swallow the crap spewing out of the mouth of that little jerky nobody, little Georgie Bush.
But Gerald, this reminds me of exactly what's happening today. I'm so glad you brought this up because when you look at the terror attack at the Crocus Theater in Moscow. Clearly, Western forces had a hand in that. That was not ISIS-K. That's a BS explanation. But the same thing with Israel bombing the consulate building in Damascus, right? The West supported that. Those are probably U.S. missiles that struck the consulate building. So these are provocations. Just like we provoked Japan in World War II with the energy embargo that put Japan in a do-or-die situation, you can see the provocations against Russia. It's like whoever's managing Joe Biden wants Russia to launch the first nuke so that they can justify World War III and maybe canceling elections and who knows what else. It's the same picture.
Yep. This is your Trends Journal from spring 2014. So how happy that guy is? Washington is driving the world to the final war. You ready? Ukraine presented the perfect opportunity for Washington to advance its hegemonic agenda. In a speech at the National Press Club last December, meaning 2013, Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland boasted that Washington had invested $5 billion in non-governmental organization, NGOs, in Ukraine to teach democracy.
Yeah, she was running the coup.
Right?
Yeah.
That was written by Dr.phil Craig Roberts.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
ECR,
so people, again, forget how we got here.
That's right.
They have no idea the United States overthrew. And by the way, you know why they overthrew them? Not my language, but from the European Union, that Ukraine is the most corrupt nation in Europe. And the latest poll that came out from Ukraine, 89% of the people are concerned about corruption. That's the number 2 issue. The war is number 1.
Wow.
What happened was the place has been busted, since the breakup of the Soviet Union, and they needed money. They were going to make a deal with the IMF and the EU. Was it the International Mafia Federation? Oh, monetary.
Right.
And Putin said, I got a better deal for you. I'm going to give you lower interest rates, and I'm going to cut back the price of your oil and gas. Okay, we'll go with you. No, you won't. And that was the overthrow of the government. So again, people have no idea how we got here. They have, but as I said, I appreciate being on with you, but we haven't mentioned anything about Taylor Swift.
Oh, right. Well, and we probably won't.
And what I'm saying is that's what the American people know about.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on. They're going to buy the lie. They're going to support it.
I don't know anything about Taylor Swift except that she's a singer. I know more about Victoria Nuland than I will ever know about Taylor Swift, and I wish I could erase my memory of Victoria Nuland from my mind because it's a haunting, horrible image. She has done so much damage to this world.
Again, you ask why people do anything. Who in their right mind would look up to again, to use the Italian language, Miss Faccia Brute like her? Who, though? How stupid can you be to swallow the crap coming out of these people's mouths? Oh, no, I look up to little Chucky Schumer. I like Lindsey Graham. I mean, Peter Shit. I mean, look at Adams Shit. Excuse me, I like Peter Schiff. I didn't want Mr. Too well. Peter Schiff, I really like.
Apologies to Peter Schiff right there. Just slip of the tongue there, but we know who you're talking about. But let me translate this, okay? I would say that people who don't heed your advice are going to lose everything that's left in dollars. And that's a strong statement, but I believe that.
It is. I believe it too. And again, we are heading for the worst of times. We are going to head into an economic collapse, the likes of which we've never seen in human history. But again, you mentioned before, I just want to go back to it. You said that Russia may use a nuclear weapon. If the world goes nuclear, they asked a cat that knew a thing or two about the atomic bomb. What's his name? Einstein. What kind of weapons will be used to fight the Third World War? He said, I don't know, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the Fourth.
That's right.
This would be the end of life on Earth. There's this great, it was John F. Kennedy's speech to the graduating students at American University in June of 1963. It's all about peace. And he goes on to say that no country suffered more during World War II than the Russians. And he talks about Operation Barbarossa, where Hitler killed over 20 million Russians. Numbers are up to 25 million today, they report. And they lost their land, their factories, their homes, the equivalent of Chicago East. He said, we don't want to go to war with them. Because if we do, and there's an atomic exchange, life on Earth will end in 24 hours. Mm. That's 1963.
Oh, my.
Oh, and then 5 months later, Jack, you're dead. Or 6 months later, he was all about peace. At the end of his speech, people should read this. He said, America will never go to war again. 6 months later, after he's dead, LBJ, LB Jerkoff over there, took us into the Vietnam War.
That's right.
Oh, and before you were mentioning about migrants, very important. Again, all things are connected. That's when they started loosening the immigration laws. I'm Vietnam War era draft meet. Every day I used to wake up and they're going to get me, they're going to get me. And by the way, I want to make this clear. I was stupid enough as a young guy to believe in the war. I even voted for Richard Nixon in 1968. Again, you learn. You keep learning and learning and learning and grow up. And the only reason I didn't go to the war is I didn't want to get killed. So I did everything I could to avoid the draft. So going back, they're drafting all the guys. They needed cheap labor. They needed more labor. That's when they loosened the first immigration laws. Uh-huh. Number two, and this is in my book, Trend Tracking. It's an international bestseller. I talked before about the dot-com bust. The internet revolution began like in the early 90s, around 93, 94. And they need employees. They need help. And people are asking for higher wages. They came up with this thing called H-1B visas. We're bringing in cheap labor from China and India. That was the other one. Now, again, making connections between different fields and how we got here, where we are, and where we're going. When I was a young guy, there were grocery stores, hardware stores, stationery stores, drug stores. Now they're all chains. Drug chains, supermarket chains, hardware chains. You go into any of the chain stores, go into any of them, help wanted. Help wanted. All we are plantation workers of slavelandia. We don't own our own businesses anymore. No mom and pops. So they need cheap labor. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in.
Well, it's like Tyson Foods announcing they're going to hire 40,000 migrants.
You got it.
While firing Americans.
Yep. Germany. We have a labor shortage. You don't have a labor shortage. And the immigrants are good. They want cheap labor. That's why they're bringing them in.
That's right. That's right. But let's talk about Europe actually for a second, because we only have a few minutes left, and I want to be sure to cover this. Let me just remind our viewers, trendsjournal.com is the website where you can subscribe to Gerald Celente's Trends Journal. And without this, I think you will be lost in what's coming. Use discount code RANGER to save 10%. And we are now an affiliate partner with Gerald Celente's organization. We are proud to support their journal, their knowledge, because this will save you. Again, it's what, less than $2.50 a week, which is nothing. If you find one tidbit in the Trends Journal that helps you make a good decision about saving your assets, you've paid for it 1,000 times over. So trendsjournal.com, subscribe, use discount code RANGER. Let's talk about Macron and France and how the West now appears to be realizing that Ukraine is not going to be able to defeat Russia. After all the promises, all the secret weapons, everything, it was all BS. The situation looks dire for Ukraine. How do you think this goes from here, and what are the implications?
There's going to be a false flag event, just like you mentioned what happened with the concert hall. They're going to ramp it up. They're not going to quit. And again, go back to your Trends Journal, February 22nd. 2 days before Russia invaded. Again, totally opposed against Russia invading Ukraine. Totally understand why they did it. We said that there's no way in the world that Ukraine is going to defeat Russia if they go to war, and they should negotiate for peace. And again, make it clear. Once upon a time, there was a guy by the name of Napoleon Bonaparte that left Poland with 420,000 troops. There's this famous graph, by the way, that shows it. He leaves Poland with 420,000 French troops, comes back with 10,000. Operation Barbarossa, launched by Hitler, kills over 25 million Russians, destroys the place. Who were the first ones to beat the Russians in the Germans in World War II?
Yeah, the Russians.
The Russians.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is they're going to have a false flag event that's going to keep this going. And again, World War III has begun. And if we don't have peace, it's going to be hell on earth. And again, that little Macron, there's a little nothing of a boy. His polling ratings, like Schultz in Germany, Sunak in the UK, they're all in the toilet.
But it's also,
they keep ramping up war talk.
It seems like they've completely lost touch with reality. When you look at just the supply of munitions in the UK, it's said that they could last 10 days in a war with Russia before they run out of everything.
No way.
In Germany, a very similar situation. Their industrial production is kaput, appropriate term there, because of the Nord Stream pipeline destruction. Germany chose the wrong allies. Germany should have made Russia their ally, and they would have a thriving economy. Instead, they allied with America that destroyed their economy. How come German leaders don't realize this?
Again, as I mentioned, you don't ask a crazy person why they're crazy.
Okay, good point.
These are imbeciles. They're arrogant, narcissistic freaks. That's all they are. They're nobodies. Again, I've been on the other side. These are a bunch of little nothings with bad attitudes.
But it's a suicide cult at the same time, right?
They're crazy. You don't ask a crazy person why they're nuts. You know, you mentioned that we don't have a lot of time, but I really want to get the very important.
Please.
One of our top trends for 2024, the banks are going to go bust.
Oh, yes. We got to cover this, and commercial real estate in particular.
Here, these are a couple of headlines. S&P Global downgrades outlook on 5 regional U.S. banks to negative. Banks face $2 trillion wall of commercial property debt. 5 banks have combined $500 billion in commercial real estate loans. More failed banks and office building demolitions likely before real estate problems end, is a federal agency. Study finds Wall Street mega banks have overstated income for years on commercial real estate. You ready? New York City's delinquency property taxes soar. Overdue property taxes are forecast to reach the highest level ever. And the overall vacancy rate for Manhattan office space it's now at 23%. You think that's bad? Take a trip over to Portland, Oregon. 29%.
Wow.
You look at some of the data, they're saying over in San Francisco, 30%. These are vacancy rates. Vacancy rates. Nobody there. Nobody there. Empty. Oh, what is the office occupancy rate? Oh, 50.6% according to Castle Systems with a K. You mean only 50% of the buildings are occupied with people? That's right.
Wow.
So now, how are the owners of the buildings going to pay their loans that are coming up with this trillions of dollars worth of debt that's coming due?
They're not.
282 banks, according to the latest study, are in deep trouble. Let's go back to last year around this time. Oh, the Silicon Valley Bank busted. Oh, and then Signature Bank and First Republic, 3 banks. Now we're talking about 300.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to bail them out. No way in the world. It goes back to gold. And it goes back to the equity markets. People don't realize how bad things are until the equity markets go down.
Well, and I remember last year when Silicon Valley Bank went down, there was this mass panic to buy gold and silver, retail gold and silver in the hands of the people. And I know you recall this too, Gerald. You've got a great memory. You couldn't get it. It was 60 days out, 90 days out. The pipeline of available gold and silver is so tiny that it was just one bank collapse back then that depleted the entire supply. Now you're talking about 280 plus bank failures that are likely to happen probably over the next, 18, 24 months, something in that window. What's this going to do to gold and silver?
That's why I said gold prices could double. When the bank, nobody's talking about the details of the banking bust. Go back to your Trends Journal. We called an office building bust when they started locking down everybody. We warned that this was going to happen. It's very simple. People were staying home day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And then they're saying to themselves, I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to commute an hour and a half each way, wasting my life and money. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm the guy that has, let's say, 400 people in 12 stories or whatever. And they're all in these little cubicles. I don't see them anyway. Yeah, stay home. I don't need all this space.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. And now let's put it all together. Your foot traffic in Midtown Manhattan, it's down 33% from pre-COVID times. All the businesses that depended on commuters going out of business. They're not coming anymore. And when they are going to work, they're going Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Hey, we used to have happy hour on Friday. Ain't happy times no more.
That's right.
Gone. And by the way, where I am up in Kingston, this was the first capital of New York State, and the third Dutch settlement. They're flooding up out of the city. Over 100,000 people estimated have left the city last year.
Wow.
They're flooding up to the suburbs and exurbs. They're getting out. Again, I'm a city guy. I know the old city. Even at the worst in the 70s, you were never afraid to go out. Now people are afraid to go out at night. You're seeing women getting punched all the time, guys getting hit in the back of the head, people being thrown into subways.
Yeah.
It's one after another. This was not like this before. So even the New York City people, they want to get out of there. And the prices just for rent is still very high. Here's a number that just came out. Attacks in New York City mass transit jumped 50%. 50%.
Well, now they've got the National Guard troops in the subway. They've got the police. It's a police state now.
Could you believe it?
Yeah.
Could you believe this is happening?
Random unconstitutional searches of people's bags.
Yeah.
I can't believe how many people are just going along with it. That's astonishing to me.
88% of the people believed little Georgie Bush, we're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive. My father, may rest in peace, when I started learning stuff, two things he told me. I'd repeat what I heard on the media, and he'd say to me in Italian, papagallo, parrot, stop repeating what everybody else is saying and think for yourself.
Yeah.
Talking to me in a very disgusting way. And the other thing, when I started to learn, I said, Pop, how come people don't see this? He'd say to me, son, people have little minds. And goes back to Taylor Swift. Do I give a shit about Taylor Swift? I mean, it's one little clown after another that they keep talking about. Oh, these are celebrities. They don't pee or poo. They're celebrities. What celebrities? What are you talking about? Oh, by the way, when I ran that major trade association, I put on a concert with Ella Fitzgerald, took over the Atlanta Convention Center, took over the Superdome, put on with Dionne Warwick, and you're telling me about Taylor Swift? I mean, that's how low America's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. But Gerald, this trend won't last forever. It's a very dark time. There are cycles of history, as you are well aware, and you've written about extensively. There will be a day that we come out of this, and that's why I think it's crucial that the American people, those listening to this, recognize you're either going to come out of this with your sanity and your assets intact, or you're going to come out of this broken and broke. And the choice of how you navigate this is going to come down to getting access to good information, to know what's coming. Trends Journal, man.
Yeah, thank you. But the real big issue here is that we have to unite for peace. I also launched Occupy Peace movement over a decade.
I remember that. Yep.
And we're on the World War III's begun. Again, if we don't have peace, it's going to be hell on earth.
Oh yeah.
And so here's what my suggestions. Number one, and again, you host Alex Jones. I do a week there. Every week I do a Monday for an hour. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men, said Samuel Adams. And we are that irate, tireless minority. And we're the ones that have to unite for the true meaning of the American spirit.
That's right.
And number two, people ask me, what can I do? What can I do? Well, you're the health ranger. Get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You got to be in the best shape you can to be. I'm a warrior for the Prince of Peace. I'm a fighter. And I'm fighting for peace, not violently, but also, I don't know if you know this, but I had my own school. I taught close combat for many years.
I do know that, yeah.
So I attack the attacker. I don't look for fights. But what I'm saying is you have to be in the best shape you can, and do something positive every day to help those who need help in any way you can.
Yes.
And that to me is the way it could change. And once upon a time, there was a thing called a Renaissance. In Italy, they used to say, remember, the Black Plague, some 60% of the people were wiped out. They realized how screwed up they were with the filth and the terrible sanitation. They said, alla Romana all'antica, in the manner of the Romans and the ancients, to describe the quality of their work. We need a Renaissance to bring back the quality of America that used to be. And to me, that's what could change it. Art, a wonderful French girlfriend of mine, Marie-Pierre, used to say, art is the way of finding the true meaning of the human spirit. And we have to bring back the true art of America, when jazz was jazz, when style was style, when hot was hot. That's what we need.
We're right there with you, Gerald. And we love you as a fellow American, a fellow human being. And we appreciate your contributions to this world and to our viewers. And I believe that history will judge you kindly for all the concerns that you have raised, the red flags, and helping people navigate through this. So I just want to thank you personally. I've followed you for years, and you've impacted me as well, Gerald. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's very kind of you. Thank you. And again, they ask people what their legacy is going to be. I could give a damn what my legacy is. I'm dead. I don't care. I want to, again, as I said, I pulled a lot of crap in my life. You learn about things as you grow up, and you can't stop learning. That's number one. I've never worked harder in my life. I try to learn as much as I can to do the best that I can, because I want to get out of here on a high note. They ask, critical care nurses say the greatest regret of dying people is they didn't become the person they could have become. And I don't want to go out like that.
That's right. That's right. Well, and you won't. That's for sure. You are the person that you want to be, and we admire your work. So thank you so much. And let me just remind people again, trendsjournal.com is the website. You can subscribe, use discount code RANGER. It'll save you 10% off the subscription to the journal. And Gerald, one last thing I just want to tell you, we're launching a reality-based large language model, an AI system on Brighteon.ai. And this interview will go into training the AI. So there's going to be a little bit of your knowledge that's in the AI system. And I was testing it last night, and I was asking it about MMT versus gold, and it was giving us an answer that almost sounded like you. So it's really good. We've finally managed to use AI for something that isn't evil. But anyway.
Look, as I said, we call the dot-com bust, and people ask me about the AI. I said, no. Trends are born, they grow, they mature, reach old age, and die. AI has just been born. This thing's going to keep going. Like it or not, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it, it's going to keep going.
Yeah, we're just trying to use it to give people access to reality-based knowledge on all kinds of topics, from geoengineering and GMOs and vaccines and you name it. Anyway, we're out of time, Gerald. I'd love to have you back again soon. This has been a real delight to speak with you today. Thank you for taking the time with us. We honor that. Oh,
thank you, and I honor all you're doing. I'm honored to be on with you. Thank you.
Well, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much. Take care, Gerald, and have a great day. And for those of you watching again, Gerald Celente, just truly a living legend here in America. His website, again, trendsjournal.com. Use discount code RANGER to get 10% off the subscription. Help support his efforts, Gerald's, as well as our platform, as we are now an affiliate with Trends Journal. Hope you learned something useful today. There's a lot more. We'll have Gerald back with some updates as events get crazy and as gold probably passes 2,300 and then 2,400 and then 2,500 and keeps going. It's going to be an interesting year for sure, especially with oil prices and what's happening with Iran. So thank you for watching today. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighteon.com. God bless you all. Take care. A global reset is coming, and that's why I've recorded a new 9-hour audiobook. It's called The Global Reset Survival Guide. You can download it for free by subscribing to the naturalnews.com email newsletter, which is also free. I'll describe how the monetary system fails. I also cover emergency medicine and first aid and what to buy to help you avoid infections. So download this guide. It's free. It's my gift to you simply because I want like-minded people to survive.